Rajan Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's pleased to take a short call on this part of the bill. Mr. Chairman, the Minister's argument around Part 3 of the bill is based on this premise, that people should work out their problems themselves when it comes to separation and disputes around children. And they should be able to do it themselves. And in order to force that to happen, the Minister has come up with what really is a draconian set of rules and changes to the present rule. In fact, as has already been shown, there is a fundamental flaw in the Minister's basic argument. Most people do work it out themselves. And that's a fact. Any practitioner will tell you that. Most lawyers will tell you that. When separation occurs, disputes occur, they actually work it out. So who are the ones, Minister, that end up in court? These are the ones where the cases are much more difficult, they are much more complex, and they require a lot more assistance, which is why they come to court. They don't come to court just for the hell of it. They come because they require the assistance of the courts to do that. And to take away the provisions that are there at the moment, that what that Part 3 does, is actually denying a fundamental right to our citizens, and that's to access justice. So at that point it becomes an access to justice question. And it's a bit like many other areas in this government has made it much more difficult for a section of our population to access services. Whether it's in social development, whether it's in a whole range of areas. A number of punitive laws have been passed by this government punishing the most vulnerable. And they couch it in the language of this is strengthening our families. Well, it isn't. This actually will make it worse. And there's any amount of evidence that has been presented to Select Committee and in the documents that my colleagues have talked about to show that this is a mistake. And yet the Minister has got it in her head that this is the only way to do this. And one wonders why. One wonders why is it? What has the Minister got against her own former profession that actually does want to provide and enable for services to be offered to our most vulnerable? And then not only that, but actually taking away from our most vulnerable the responsibility of the state to provide some assistance. And in the end, it'll probably be cheaper to do it that way. And imposing in its place an $875 cost to families to access counselling, to access family disputes resolution service. Now, what is the logic behind that? So this becomes kind of checkbook access to services for those who are the most vulnerable. Why is the Minister doing it that way? Why is this government so heartless doing it in that particular way? And then not going even further, making that a mandatory requirement. That before you can go any further, you actually have to go and access that at your own cost. Then the Minister hasn't explained to us, as the questions posed by this side, how is the Family Disputes Resolution Service to decide that it can't be resolved in a short period of time or within a reasonable period of time? That's not defined either. So what is this? This is all designed to make it a lot more difficult and perhaps designed to save some money, and the figures have been quoted by my colleague Chris Farfoy. So why is the Minister so heartless? Why is the Minister making it? Well, the Minister, it is. If it isn't, the Minister should get up and say, how are some of these families going to find $875 a week and when dollars to get their service, and when that doesn't work out, they have to go to court and there is no access to legal aid at that point. So they're on their own. Of those who separate, this is the most vulnerable group, the difficult cases, and the Minister is making, through these provisions, much more difficult for them to do so. And it's not just my word, Minister, it's all those who have presented. So there have been no explanations from the Minister as to why it is done in that particular way. So perhaps the Minister is simply trying to promote access to private family disputes resolution services. And even that in a way that where the prices are guaranteed. They have to use those, otherwise they can't go any further. So there is a lot with this series of provisions that in Part 3 of this bill that is fundamentally this side of the House is opposed to, because there is a better way of doing it. There's a better way of providing the kinds of services. Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Rajan Prasad.
For the state. A bit of a dry throat there, Mr. Chairman. There are much better ways of actually accepting this responsibility and providing a better service. I mean, what are the difficulties in this particular area? It's not just costs. Because, you know, what has the minister identified as a major problem in this particular area? And it's only that ideology that people should care for themselves. That if you separate, you must go and find solutions yourself. And what kind of solution is that? Because the minister doesn't drive that, the government doesn't drive that in other areas of problems, whether it's in the economy, whether it's in business, etc. The government is very, very willing to use large dollops of public monies to make those, TY pointed, case in point. And yet when it comes to our most vulnerable families, this minister and the Minister of Social Development is making it much more difficult for our most vulnerable. Why is it, Minister? Is it because this group doesn't vote for that side of the House? Is it that? Or is it just some perverse pleasure that as an ex-lawyer the Minister takes? Because there is no logic. The Minister has not explained the logic, and the government then, we can conclude at the end of it, and alongside a whole series of other laws that have been passed by this government over the past 4.5 years, while it pretends to be pro-family, is actually anti-family. There are many rules have been passed by this government that actually is anti-family. It's anti-keeping the family together. It's anti-trying to give families the assistance. It's simply saying the state has no responsibility. We've got to cut the welfare budget. We've got to cut government spending. And yet the other side of the equation is that others are advantaged. And this is what creates the unbalanced society that Labour governments have to come and fix up. And we will. And government this side will fix these kinds of problems up. Anybody who works in this field, any practitioner, counsellor, lawyer, and perhaps judge as well if they ask, will tell you that this particular set of provisions are not likely to work. Those that I've spoken to say this will simply make it worse. And yet here is a minister sits there and simply says, we've got it all wrong, everybody's wrong, the minister is right. Well, this side will not be supporting this, and when the time comes, we will make the adjustments that need to be made. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kate Wilkinson, the Honourable.
Mr. Chair, I move that the question be now put.
Yeah, the question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Point of order.
Point of order. My understanding is that a closure motion must be put precisely, and I believe that member started to take a call.
I found the manner in which the motion was put acceptable. The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Aye. Ayes have it. Right. A party vote called for. The clerk will conduct the party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
13 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
7 votes opposed.
Maori Party.
3 in favour.
Mana.
1 vote opposed.
Act New Zealand.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Brendan Horn.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
Mr. Chair, can I correct the vote of the Māori Party
Yes.
to be 2 in favour?
2 in favour, Maori. Ayes are 63, noes are 52. I will put the questions. So the first question is the Minister's amendment set out on Part 3, amendments to Part 3 set out on SOP 349. The question is that the Minister's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. Ayes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
13 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
7 votes opposed.
Maori Party,
2 opposed.
Mana,
1 vote opposed.
Act New Zealand,
1 in favour.
United Future,
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan,
1 vote opposed.
The ayes are 61, the noes 58. The amendments are agreed to. The question now is that Part 3, as amended, stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. Ayes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National,
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour,
34 opposed.
Green Party,
13 votes opposed.
New Zealand First,
7 votes opposed.
Maori Party,
2 opposed.
Mana,
1 vote opposed.
Act New
1 in
Zealand,
favour.
United Future,
1 in favour.
Brendan Horan.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
Ayes are 63, noes 56. The motion is agreed to. We move to Part 4, which is a debate on clauses 70 and 71. The question is that Part 4 stand part. Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a very brief part, but it actually is very powerful in its impact. And